We're going to have a look at functional grammar. It is a really important part of our writing, and it's really when we're going to be seeing some things about like why it is important, so we can understand what we're writing and how we're writing. So we're going to be looking at that in a little bit more detail right now. So within our words, whenever we write a sentence, we have participants, processes, and circumstances. So participants in a sentence, every sentence, proper sentence must have a participant, and they are most often the noun groups. So to find the participant in a sentence, you must ask who is doing it, or what is doing it, or to whom is it being done. So for example, Mary lives across the road from Jack. I will go with you. All the children read the same story. The fluffy white rabbit hopped across the busy street. There was a large crowd at the lookout. Now, you might see that there are quite in some sentences there are more than just one word identified. So participants are read, and you can see that like with Mary and I, that is just one word there. But all the children are the participant of that sentence. And it's not to be confused with just the noun, because just the noun would be children, but noun groups would be all the children. And the fluffy white rabbit, even though fluffy and white are describing the rabbit, and we've spoken about adjectives and such, but with functional grammar, the participant is the fluffy white rabbit. It's the whole participant. And same with a large crowd. And as you can see in these sentences, the participant doesn't always have to be the very start of the sentence. The last example, there was a large crowd at the lookout. The participant is in the middle of the sentence. Now the process are most often verb groups. So actions, sayings, sensing a being or having in the sentence. So to find the process, you must ask what is happening and what is being done. So for example, Sarah quickly ran after her dog. Who has my pencil? Gemma wanted to go outside. The baby drank a full bottle of milk. Max and I will go to the concert. The little boy started to cry. So remember about the verb groups, the action, what is being done, what is being said, what is happening. That is the process. Now another part of functional grammar is a circumstance, and they are most often adverbial. So they're describing something. So to find the circumstance, you must ask how, when, where, why, or with whom the action is happening. So for example, the ball bounced high on the pavement. That's where. So where did the ball bounce high? On the pavement. The children performed a play for their parents. Who did they perform the play for? Their parents. So for their parents is the circumstance. Last weekend we visited our grandparents. When did we visit our grandparents? Last weekend. So the horse galloped quickly across the paddock. How did the horse gallop? Across the paddock. Oh, actually, sorry, no, it's quickly across the paddock. But where did the horse gallop across the paddock? Now, main or an independent clause depends which year. In grade 5 we talk about the main clause, and in grade 6 they talk about the independent clause. So I like to use them interchangeably because you'll hear about them, both of them. So the main clause contains a participant and a process. It makes sense by itself. So it is a complete sentence. So to have a main clause, it could be a complete sentence. So for example, the homeless dog ate the bone. Caroline folded the laundry. The snake silently slithered. My grandfather sang loudly. So they are the main clause or an independent clause, and they are all complete sentences. Now, a subordinate clause or a dependent clause contains a circumstance, and it doesn't make sense by itself. It's not a complete sentence, so it needs a main clause to make sense. So I've got some examples here. Across the road. It doesn't make sense. what about across the road? I have no idea because I don't have a main clause to go with it. Through the grass. Through the grass. I have no idea what's going through the grass. Who's going through the grass? Down the slide. Once again, like, I have no idea. Down the slide is not a complete sentence. It is a subordinate clause. Now, when we're talking about simple sentences, a simple sentence is a main clause. It makes sense by itself. So a simple sentence contains a participant and a process. So for example, the boy jumped in the puddle. Isaac quickly ran the race. The poisonous toad ate the noisy cricket. So I spoke about the adjectives with the noun. It is the noun group, so the poisonous toad. The noisy cricket is the process because it ate the noisy cricket. So that's the verb group there, ate the noisy cricket, which is the process. Now, compound sentence is two main clauses joined with a coordinating conjunction. So remember your fanboys, like for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So all of those different words, there's more than that, but they're just some examples. So a coordinating conjunction. So these examples here, I, participant, have a home, but I don't have a car. I ate a hot dog because I was hungry. Sarah put her hat on so she wouldn't get sunburnt. So you can see with the colour coordinating that you've got the I have a home, that is a main clause. I don't have a car is also a main clause. And joined together with a coordinating conjunction, that is a compound sentence. I ate a hot dog. I was hungry. They are independent clauses, joined with a coordinating conjunction. Sarah put a hat on. She wouldn't get sunburnt. So she wouldn't get sunburnt. Adding this coordinating conjunction. Now, complex sentence is what we aim to write for in grade 5. We must be writing complex sentences in grade 5. We must. So it's really important for us to understand this. A complex sentence has a main clause and at least one subordinate clause. So there can be two if you need. But that's what a complex sentence needs. It needs at least one subordinate clause. And subordinate clause is usually the circumstance. It is often formed by joining the clauses together with a subordinating conjunction or a comma. And commas separate clauses and are important in complex sentences. When we are using punctuation, a comma is a very important part of a complex sentence. So we'll have a look further. So for example, when the cake is ready, there's a comma there, turn off the oven. So the dependent clause is at the start of this sentence here. When the cake is ready, so when is subordinating conjunction. When the cake is ready. If we just had that, doesn't make sense. Turn off the oven. Turn off is our process. The oven is our participant. So this sentence here is basically the complete turnaround of what we're talking about. Participant, process, circumstance. Doesn't matter which order, as long as it's there and punctuated correctly. The king, there's a comma there, although he is kind, comma, is hated by his subjects. So the king is the participant, although he is kind is the circumstance, so that is the dependent clause, is hated by his subjects. So the king is hated by his subjects is the main clause. It's split up. Because it is split up, we must have commas on either side of our subordinate clause. Makes it stronger. The last sentence, the dog buried his bone after he was finished. So that one doesn't have commas in it because we've got our subordinate clause at the end, and that is okay. It doesn't need to have a comma. Sometimes some people may put commas in, but it is okay this case if it doesn't have a comma. The dog buried his bone. That could be a sentence by itself. That is a simple sentence. After he was finished, the complex sentence at the end. Well, the circumstance at the end to make it a complex sentence.